Welcome back to the baseline. It is the first edition of the baseline banter in 2026. If you're not watching us, I am Colton Wilson. My co-hosts are Travis Wilson, Chris Smith of Hartford. We are here in 2026 following a sickness-filled holiday break. Guys, how are we doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I don't think we could have gotten out of the Christmas break time frame here any better at sitting at 3-0 through the break. We played three very quality teams, and really proud of the way that our guys performed, but also at the same time like trying to get healthy at the same time with all these sicknesses and illnesses. Luckily, we haven't had too many injuries per se, but there are a lot of teams dealing with some serious illnesses, and we were able to kind of have the lull of that the week before break and got healthy right as break was about to happen. So it was a really great couple weeks here for us.
In a week like the way the break was set up, where it spanned the 2 weeks, these weeks can really get funky.
Mm-hmm.
Not just from a scheduling standpoint for basketball reasons wise, right? But just your calendar can get kicked all over, your internal calendar.
I was talking to my son the other day, and I said the wrong day that it was, and he was giving me a hard time. I'm like, dude, it's the second week of Christmas vacation. Days don't exist. It could be Monday, it could be Saturday, it could be a made up day. Nobody knows, nobody cares. We're on sweatpants number 86 this week. Days don't exist anymore when you're on second week of it.
It was on a daily basis that I had to look at my phone to see what day of the week it was and what the actual date was. I was just so ingrained in everything that I was doing, from basketball to family to Christmas to New Year's to everything in between, like getting new tires on my wife's car, like all this stuff, right? Like it's just all gets crammed into this 2 week little phase here, and then all of a sudden it's today, and I have to go back to reality tomorrow and realize that I'm not just a full-time basketball coach. I actually have a full-time job that has to come first now again.
We're sitting here talking about this, how this 2 weeks have affected us, and now put yourself in the shoes of 14 to 18-year-olds that have basketball games in there, they have practice, and they are also likely staying up till 2, 3 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, drinking soda pop, eating chips, and playing video games with their buddies.
Yeah, I can still remember when I was in high school, even though it was 20 plus years ago now for me, even that I remember hanging out with my buddies, and like we would go and buy a 12-pack of Code Red and sit down in one of our parents' living rooms and pull an all-nighter playing video games all night. Like that was the funnest thing ever. Probably not very good for my heart, but hey.
Then go to practice at 5 p.m. and wonder why coach is yelling at us for being lethargic.
Yeah, you caught a 4-hour nap in between all that, and then go to practice. And yep, now I'm on the other side of it, and it was like, well, what the heck were you guys doing last night?
We know it is a very full circle coming moment of it's just like, I caught myself. I'm like, why are we being so lethargic? What are we doing? And then I'm like, I was doing this 18 years ago.
Yeah, and I hope that kids are doing fun things like that, and hanging out with their friends and creating memories, because like I said, that's over 20 years for me, and I will never forget some of the stuff that I did with my buddies from 11 p.m. to 3 in the morning, sitting in a living room randomly, right? It's it doesn't get any better than that. So, but the much needed time for kids to have a little bit of a breather too, though, while trying to keep them in some sort of an organized schedule is really hard. When for us, we played the 27th and the 28th, back-to-back days, having one practice in between 2 days off and 2 games in a row, was super challenging. But You'd be surprised though sometimes the resiliency of high school kids and what they're actually capable of. I don't think we give them enough credit sometimes with the amount of work that they're able to complete and do at a high level, especially when they're super interested in the topic at hand.
Yeah, I agree. We played 4 games, 26th, 27th, 30th, and yesterday. So trying to get prep in there while also giving the kids time for family and everything. It's supposed to be a 2 week break, and it doesn't feel like much of one. Um, we talked about the sickness and that. I mean, it just runs rampant. Kids aren't sleeping, right? They're not in their routine. It can lead to them not taking care of themselves, and then they get to practice, and you wonder why they're hawking up a lung. And on Alaska, actually, they had it run through their system, their whole program, where they had to cancel 2 games down in Kettle Moraine. So
Yeah, coaches and players.
yeah, that's a little wild. Um, let's just touch on the Christmas break and specifically the basketball side of it. There's different ways to approach it. Some coaches take it as a break. They don't schedule games within those 2 weeks. They kind of use it as a hey, go and kind of reset, or whether it's a not necessarily a reset, but maybe a way to just get extra practice time in without the trying to pack travel and games into that window of time. And then there's other teams where they're traveling cross state, cross country. There's benefits to both sides, right? So let's just dive into that topic just a little bit on that.
Well, I think it's a great topic of conversation, and I see a number of sides to it, a number of pros and cons of a lot of different things. I would not be. I'll tell you right now, I would not be opposed to this being a dead week. There are states that have this as a dead, or have the Christmas break time as a dead week. In Iowa, it is a dead week. I can't remember if they can practice, but there's not competitions. We were talking to some of our bound teammates that are down in Iowa and talking about Christmas events, and they didn't really know what we were talking about because they don't do it down there. So I will tell you, I would not be opposed to that. I love the dead week during the 4th of July that is in the summer period. I think it would be great to give kids a break. Basketball's already the longest season already. And I think it would be great to give families that break as well. I also see the huge value in being able to go and play in some different games and events that otherwise you might not be able to. The Christmas events have really become a thing where most teams played in some capacity over the break. And there's some great matchups and there's some great experiences that are had. But again, I wouldn't be opposed to shutting it down either. I know there's been talk of John Millay was a longtime sports writer in the state of Minnesota and then worked for the Minnesota State High School League as kind of their content liaison or producer, if you will. Just did a thing on it this week, talking about different opinions on that. And people mentioned, well, maybe you just use it for practice and you don't schedule games, but that doesn't help with scheduling of family events or whatever it might be. If you're going to shut it down, I would say shut it down. So I'm not advocating for a dead week during Christmas, but I would not be opposed to it at all. That's my view on it as a parent of 2 high school athletes. I wouldn't be opposed to them getting a nice break during that time.
I'm sorry, but I don't think I could disagree with you more, Travis. I think we're already you're over a month into the basketball season and then you're going to just take a week off. Seems crazy, right? Understand the amount of growth that happened already for 6 weeks almost, 5 to 6 weeks. And then you're just going to stop. And then they expect them to come back like that. I think that's a recipe for disaster. I think you're going to be basically restarting the season over again. And it's going to be super sloppy then from the new year for the next week and a half to 2 weeks. And I just don't, because then on top of that too, with the amount of games that we play and what the season time frame is, I mean, from a coaching standpoint, I don't want to have to fill 3 more games in somewhere and have 3 more 3-game weeks. Having 3 games in a week is brutal. and then you're talking about wanting to do that more. Like I just, from a logistics standpoint, I think it's awful. And to be honest with you too, like part of high school athletics and part of being on a team, right, is a very big commitment, and you're in it or you're not, I feel like. And that's where like the really good programs, why there's really good too, is because you have that commitment level. It's not always about the talent or skill level. Sometimes it's about the commitment level to the guys and girls who are putting in the work every single day. And man, just from a coach's standpoint, I don't think that would be very well thought of. And man, we just work too hard.
There's also something to, sometimes you have to protect the kids from the adults as well. And again, I'm not saying that it's wrong that we're playing or anything like that, but there's a lot of coaches that if they had their way, there would be a lot of different things being done that I don't think would necessarily always be in the best interest of the athletes. So I think again, I'm not advocating for it necessarily, but I think there's different ways to approach it. And that brings up a larger conversation of what should the calendar look like as well. What should the number of games look like? That is something the WIA is studying right now. They have a calendar.
Well, coaches don't ever get listened to anyway, so I'll just throw that out there. Our opinions never matter when it comes to the WIA and all that stuff anyway. So, man, I'm opening up a huge can of worms right now, but I'll just say it out loud, like everybody else is thinking, that coaches don't ever get listened to about anything. So no one will hear me either right now, I guess.
To kind of play devil's advocate to both of you, one, I would not be, as a coach, I would not enjoy taking the whole week off. I've already had 2 breaks with my JV level where we've had 17 days between games and 18 days between games. 2 of those, and it's been awful as far as like. I love it as a coach, obviously, because I get to go in and do a lot of prep. The kids hate it, and then that first game back after that long break is you're rusty. But I think it's also maybe we're looking at it from a just this year kind of thing and a last year kind of thing where the holiday breaks have landed on really funky days between your Christmas and your New Year's. So like Christmas and New Year's landed on, or Christmas and Christmas Eve landed on Wednesday, Thursday, and then you have to jam 2 days of games on Friday, Saturday. Sunday there was a handful of them, but then you jam more games on Monday, Tuesday, and then you have 2 days off for the most part, and then you're trying to jam another 2 days of in. So I think that the calendar wasn't set up for success necessarily for kids this year, because if you live in districts where, like for instance us, we didn't, not saying we wanted to practice 5 hours of the day, but those calendars get really condensed in the 2 week period that we've had.
Well, I think the calendar this year set up awesome for athletes and for if you wanted to play games, obviously it set up great. I mean, Milwaukee, Chris, you played 3, Colton, you played 4, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Milwaukee Academy of Science girls played 6 games since December 23rd already. So if you wanted to play games, it set up awesome. We talked about it last week that it was really unique to be able to play the Monday, Tuesday of Christmas week, to play the Friday, Saturday potentially of Christmas week, and then play this past week, potentially playing on Friday as well. Like, it was awesome to be able to play those number of games. So it was unique. I don't know that everybody would want to do it all the time, to play 4 or 5 games while you're not in school potentially, but it set up in a pretty cool way to be able to do those things.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, like next year is going to be, I think, going to be even crazier because it's Thursday, Friday, and then you're talking about like some of those weekend tournaments that are traditional Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, right? Like, it just can't happen. Like, now what are you going to do? Because like, how many teams want to play the day after Christmas on a Saturday? Not many, right, for next year. So I mean, it's going to be a little bit more unique. There's going to probably be more games prior to Christmas then, because you have that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah. Right.
So,
and that's,
I don't know.
That was one of the challenges this year. Our district, and I can't remember what you guys said, we did not have school that week of Christmas at all this year.
Yep, we
So
did not either.
we could have, I think we could have played. I think the girls team maybe did, but we did not play that Monday, Tuesday before Christmas. So that was essentially a completely lost week for games anyway. That would have been nice to take advantage of a little bit, but yeah, you're right. I think Monday, Tuesday next year on that week of Christmas will be essentially a regular Monday, Tuesday, because
Yep.
I don't imagine anybody will have school off that entire week. It'll probably be either Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Thursday, Friday that they'll be off, which makes the early part of that week a little more normal potentially.
Yeah, and we'll probably know some of those school calendars pretty quickly here, anyways.
Yeah.
That'll all be coming out pretty soon.
So obviously, within our state, we have some incredible events that go on. Whether it's the Century, the WBY, not the Sun Drop anymore, the Shawano Classic, but there are events. There are events all across the state in
What
every
did you
corner.
just say?
I'm not going to repeat it because I'm just going to get made fun of. But then we have teams that are going out of state to play games. And I think we saw two huge different swings of the pendulum for two different programs that went down to Florida and played games over the break. You had Wisconsin Lutheran boys that went down there. They played at Myrtle Beach. I think they played 3 games in 3 days or 3 games in 4 days, something like that. Won all 3, came home with the championship, challenged themselves. Really good games. Zen's hit, the game winner in the championship game.
The Kawhi bounce.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you have that end of the spectrum where the team is going out, challenging themselves, making Wisco one of the top, if not the top team in the state, is going out and playing really tough competition from out of state. And then something that really caught my eye is Edgerton girls also went down to Florida, and they won their 2 games 70-8 and 71-6. Oofda.
It's just a glorified vacation at that point. I just wonder if they had any idea who they were playing before they said it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you get into those events, you have no idea who you're playing.
Yeah,
especially when it's out of
for
state.
a lot of them, and this is not as big of an issue in basketball, but we see it a lot in softball and baseball, for instance, going and playing down south during spring break or early in the season, right? And I think a lot of that is just organizers put stuff together, and if you want to come play, awesome. You can play at the Wide World at Disney down there in baseball and softball, and even in basketball. Like, you're right. I think you don't know what you're going to get unless you really research well, or if it's a well-established event, like that event in Myrtle Beach is pretty well established, I believe. But if you're just going down and someone says, hey, do you want to come down and play some games at this local school in our local tournament, or whatever, you could end up with the Edgerton girls situation. And that, that brings up the point of what do you want to accomplish? As long as you have the right goal in mind, then that's fine.
Yeah,
your goal is
to
have an experience traveling with the kids, and it's the experience part and things they'll never forget, and you have that in your mind first and foremost, at least before anything else. Then that's okay. If you're going down to try to get competitive games and that's what you end up with, and you paid a lot of money, and I don't know what else you do around that trip. Hopefully you're down there for a while, but that becomes a different, obviously, outcome that maybe you didn't desire out of that. So, you know, that's an interesting concept. And I don't know if you've done that out of state travel, Chris, with teams that you've been on, but when you look at that, like what would you want to accomplish or get out of that kind of event if you were to do it?
Well, I can use an example that's not quite as drastic, right? But like even like this year, right? Our last game that we played, on Saturday, that we played against a team from Iowa. I didn't know about the whole rule about the dead week in Iowa either, by the way. So I would assume that's why they came to Wisconsin to play, the team that we played. And but like when I scheduled even just going to just a game in the Dells or whatever with that, I had no idea who we were playing. And they just said, well, we'll try to match you up with somebody of even competition, right? And we ended up getting scheduled with a team that is very good, the top 10 in 4A in Iowa, and it ended up being a fantastic game, and it worked out perfectly, right? But like we see with the Edgerton thing, like it didn't work out in a competitive way. when I was in Beaver Dam, we went to Winona State a couple times, and we played against some very good competition. But we kind of like had an idea going in, like, all right, if we're going to get in here, who are some teams that we could potentially play? And they would give us some teams and possibilities. And sometimes you had a choice and sometimes you didn't, right? But I don't know. I've always been on the side of, and we've talked about this, privately too, Travis, about how, when I schedule things and I get into certain events, like I want to know who I'm going to play before I say yes to it for the most part, because for me, I want it to be a competitive situation and I want it to be somewhere where I know we're going to get better. But I also, don't necessarily want to go and play some team that's nationally ranked either when I know that my team's not to that level, because I don't want our kids to be embarrassed, type thing. Because it is a year-to-year thing, and it's really hard to schedule those events, non-conference games alone. It's really hard. But when you get into events, when you don't necessarily know the opponents, that's really, really tough thing to do. And I would love to go down to Indiana and play one of those big, huge field houses that hold 10,000 people at a high school, but I don't know who the heck who we're going to play if we get into an event like that. So it's really tough to make that decision. You always want to err on the side of like, well, what do the kids want to do? So, you give them a choice. Like, would you guys rather go here or would you rather go do that? And maybe those girls just really wanted to go to Florida.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And that perspective, I guess, is a really good way to think about it. What did you want to get out of the event? And obviously that's going to be different by coach. It'll be different by program. And it'll be different, honestly, year to year from that coach and that program.
Absolutely.
Are you looking to get just games in over the week or weekend or that break, or are you looking to really challenge yourself? And that'll vary from 25-26 to 26-27. I think a lot of what we did see, Trav, you highlighted this in our outline, is these big events. Does it take away from the state tourney buzz by all these high level non-cons? Chris, we kind of touched about this when we did our preview, and I don't think that you were on that one, but I'd love to get kind of your perspective. These high level games that the general public's going to be able to get out and see, whether it's in person or even online. They get to see the slingers, the Wiscos, not Wisco this year, but in years past, they get to see them at these events. Does that hurt the state tourney buzz? Do you think that has any effect on attendance at our end of the year spectacle?
I mean, I don't think it should. Like, for me personally, I like to watch as many high-level basketball games as possible, right? And I want to see the best play the best, and
You're a coach.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, if you're just general admission, let's go with that. Obviously, we want to go see it.
I just can't. I don't feel like I can take that hat off and think that way. To be honest, I think that there's, like, in those games for me, like there's so many things for me to learn as a coach. Just about the game of basketball and the way that you can utilize different types of players and how different systems are successful. And so, like, for me, when I watch those games, like, when I watched the Wayzata and West Dallas Central game, I was sitting on my couch in my recliner with my feet up and my slippers on, just chilling and watching that game. And I was having a great time. And I was like, ooh, what was that? Like, oh, how did they manage to get that stop there? Or what did they do offensively to get a look here? And like, how can I utilize that and put that in my bag, for our team type thing. But I mean, trying to think generally, why would you not want to watch great basketball if you're a fan?
But let's say, we hear it every year. I think personally,
the online spectrum of things has ruined high school basketball and the attendance at games. And what the crummy thing is that everything is a freaking money grab now, and I hate it. Like, oh, we're going to charge you $8.54 to watch this game. Okay, I don't know. It's just really, really dumb. Like, I
agree on that.
People aren't going to want to sit at their home and watch, like, a YouTube version of a game, right, with no commentary, and want to pay for that. Like at that point, if they really want to see the game, they're going to go to the game. I feel like so. Like
now you're arguing against yourself.
But yes and no, I guess. But like, just go to the game then, right? Like it's going to be a better atmosphere if you go to the game. You're going to be able to watch it and like feel the atmosphere type thing. And yes, I watched the game online only because it was free.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to pay for it. And if I really wanted to get the film, like I could get the film somewhere.
Yeah.
I could ask a coach.
Yeah,
but
I think the state tournament piece, I think the events and the streaming go hand in hand in terms of the buzz piece to me, because, I'm a little bit older than both of you guys. I remember back in the days of Sam Oakey in the 90s, and like there was this mystique around him, right? Like you read about him, you heard about him, but
I was super young, and I remember that, right? Yeah. I remember that stuff. Yeah.
And part of that mystique is not being able to see what that person actually looks like and how they play. And you think of, I was, what was I, 5 years younger than Sam Oakey? But even then, like to me, when I was a kid and Sam Oakey was in high school, it was, Sam Oakey is 12 foot tall and can palm a basketball with one finger. And like, it was just this.
Yeah, so much hearsay, right?
Thing.
That mystique is completely gone.
Yeah,
it is because every kid has some sort of highlight.
Yes. All of their Instagrams is filled with all. I hear it from all the kids I coach.
Yeah, and so when you have that level of mystique, the only way that you can really see it, unless you're in that area and you can go to a game and whatever, like it's at the state tournament. That was the spectacle. That was the place to see any and all of those teams and players, and it was the only place to see those people from farther away, whether it was, the other side of the state or whatever. And now, between these events that everybody plays in, where everybody plays everybody already, I mean, in the state tournament at Division I, most of these teams will have played the other teams at least once. Last year, obviously, we saw a couple teams in the same conference. I mean, Tosa East and Arrowhead play, and Tosa
what's
East,
wrong with that?
Really, nothing is wrong with it.
Right? No, I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's
I think it's to be encouraged,
thing.
But I think when we're talking about what does it do to the buzz around the state tournament, I think it absolutely has an impact on it. Not that we should change it, but I think it's just a fact that does impact that buzz around a state tournament.
I don't disagree. I think it probably does have an impact, but do I think that it has the impact that, let's say, just the availability of being able to click on a TikTok or click on an Instagram reel or go on Twitter and see the highlights of all of these, like Donovan Davis on the Dooney Johnsons, like that I think is more impactful with regards to general admission, and like the high school and younger kids, they're going to get to see them regardless. So I don't think that with at least specifically talking about high school and younger kids and the admission and their attendance of the state tournament, that is more affected by just the availability of everything.
I just am not sure that there are as many people under the age of 20 that actually just watch basketball, though.
True.
No, and to be honest with you, like when I talk about state tourney buzz, to me that's not necessarily the kids. That's like the general fans, the people that sit in the general fan section at the state tournament, right? The 50-year-old guys that played and have gone to the state tournament for 20 years in a row. Like, that's the kind of
some of that is because I think some of that has to do with the change in the game and people of that generation not necessarily liking the change in the game.
Run the swing.
Please don't.
Does anybody run swing anymore?
Like, yes.
Yeah.
River Valley, their JV at least does.
I mean, there are a lot of teams now too that will take bits and pieces out of the swing and like almost run them as sets. I see that a lot now, where like they're quick hitters and stuff like that. But like you just can't. I'm not saying you can't. I guess you can do whatever you want, but with the uptick in styles of defensive play now, I think a lot of like those system-based type offenses like that like would just get blown up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really do think that like I really do think it has a lot to do with even older generations, right? Like just seeing things online now, and yeah, like you said, like they just get less and less interested in seeing it again or something like that, or they saw them early in the year, like, what do I need to go to spend more money than I would at a high school game than to go to the state tournament for? I don't know. And hey, I mean, hey, times are tough financially for people too, so that might have something to do with it too in the last 4 or 5 years, but I'm not really sure. For me, I can't understand it because I can even remember myself as a high school kid and playing basketball and, oh man, we have a Tuesday night off and there's all these games. Well, where are we driving to?
Yeah.
Sometimes we would drive 2 hours to a game and go see, like, how awesome is it to go to a gym, a high school gym that has a good crowd for the first time ever and walk into that place, right? Like, there's nothing better, in my opinion, than
Yeah.
walking into a high school gym that's packed and just hearing the buzz, especially when you're an outsider and you're like, wow, this is a great atmosphere.
I think obviously the consumption of basketball is different from our generation to what's, um, and maybe it's not our generation, it's just us as people who genuinely love the game and see it from that coach's perspective. But kids want to go see either, you know, Valley or your rival like do badly and make a
Mm-hmm.
fool of themselves, or they want to see the highlight dunk or the highlight play. So, and I think we were like that a little bit too, but also with who we are and how we uh, consume basketball, it's a little different points of view. Um, Hopping into just a little bit of review, we're not going to go into, at least on the boys' side, we're not going to jump into a lot of the big games. There's plenty of them. 23 of the 50 ranked teams in the state through the 5 divisions lost over the holiday break. So, I mean, there was so many really, and that's just a testament to the matchups that we got that were throughout those 2 weeks.
Well, I think
It's
it speaks volumes to the amount of really good teams we have in our state right
yes,
now.
that too. That exactly. So at least on the boys' side, we're going to highlight the 1,000-point scores. We're going to highlight a couple coaching milestones, and then Trav's going to highlight some girls stuff. But if you want to go back and look at the outcomes of the games, head over to Bound, Wisconsin. We didn't mention them at the top, but Bound is our presenting sponsor. You can find all your scores, stats, a lot of really cool basketball information, content, polls, everything over at boundwisconsin.com. Head over there, see on the boys and girls side the amount of incredible games that were played over the last 2 weeks, the outcomes. Um, there was one day, West Allis Central beat the number one team out of Minnesota and then lost to Appleton North by 2 the very next day. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a wild couple weeks, and something that was really cool. Quite a few 1,000-point scorers also happened over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I think we have 11 of them to mention
Ooh.
here. Not to say that I'm going to go over them, very quickly just to get through them, but just to quickly mention these kids' names because 1,000 points is an awesome accomplishment. Congratulations to these guys. We have Walker Winkleman and Canton Chrisman from, how do you say this? Is it Wabeno, Leona? Is that how you say it? Did I get it right? All right. They did it in the same week together, which is pretty awesome. 2 kids scoring their 1,000th point in the same week. That's pretty cool. Tyler Evenson from Wauwatosa West. We're going to see them in a couple weeks again. We played them last year. He can really score the basketball. Jamison Beeman from O'Connell Falls. Grant Hardy from super talented Appleton North team. Man, I remember that kid. We played him as a freshman, and I was like, all those guys, I'm like, geez, these guys are going to be so good when they're seniors. And it wasn't hard to be right on that one. Austin Lyon from Westfield, congrats. Quincy Fender from Newman Catholic. Rocco Jones, pretty awesome name, Rocco,
Yeah.
from Madison Country Day. And then ones we missed that we found recently were JJ Heikkinen from Phillips and Parker Ingalls from Winneconne. And then last but not least, we have Mohammed Badwan from what is it, Salam? Nice. Hey, some of these smaller places I've never been to and have never had to say out loud before. So I think I did pretty good.
The 2 kids from Wabeno, Leona that surpassed it in the same week. Trav or Chris, was it a couple weeks ago we were talking about kids doing it in the same game? And
Yeah.
last year there was 4 instances of it in the boys' side where teammates surpassed 1,000 points in the exact same game. And the very first instant of it was the twin Coon boys from Abundant Life Christian. Pretty cool moment for you and your twin brother to hit the 1,000-point mark in the same night.
Kind of scary in a way, especially when they're twins. Like, do you do anything that's not the same? I don't know.
A couple coaching milestones that we saw over the last couple weeks as well. Steve Collins out of Madison Memorial, longtime coach there. He hit 500 career wins. Congrats to him. Oh, boy, let's not. Trav, I'm going to let
Colton.
you.
Come on.
Konitschke?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Konitschke out of Columbus Catholic. He got number 400. They got a really good team out of in that D5. They challenged himself by going to the WBY tournament every year, too, and they took a couple L's over there, but they go up and play D3s and D4s, so really good on him. Greg Leach from Kenosha Bradford hit 300, and then Coach Mike Hintz in Fort Atkinson hit 200. Again, congrats to all those coaches. Winning is tough. It's a tenured thing. You're in it for a long haul to hit that mark, and so congrats to all of those.
Yeah, on the girls' side, we talked about this in our preview, Colton, that it seems like the Thanksgiving tournaments and events have surpassed the Christmas events in terms of the prestige and the stature and the big matchups, at least.
Yeah.
Brookfield and Kettle Moraine specifically, those two events had significantly better overall fields and number of games than most anything we saw on the girls' side. The Century Classic is a big event. It's been there 54 years, I think this was. The Shawano Hoops Shootout is a solid event. It used to be the Franklin Catherine Rathke Memorial Tournament was the kind of biggest girls event during the holiday time. And that one now I believe is just a 4-team event, or maybe 8, but it's significantly smaller than it used to be. It used to be up there with the Kettle Moraine and Brookfield in terms of the number of games. So still saw some excellent games. Wanakee went 2-0 at the Ab Nicholas event. That was a really good event. A small one, only 4 teams, but they got wins over Madison Memorial before, and then Platteville and Eau Claire Memorial at that event. Tessa Bryan had 30 points in all of those games. Pewaukee, an eye-opening win, a couple of wins. Number one, they beat Homestead by 60, and then they beat Kimberly by 31. This was Friday or Saturday. I can't remember now, but impressive wins for Pewaukee, not only against really good competition, but just dominated in those ones. And it's interesting. Obviously, they graduated the Terrians. Giselle Janowski, missed a lot of last year, ended up coming back and contributing at the end of the year. She's not shooting great this year, but Madeline Shabbat and Vanessa Johnson have really picked up the slack for the Pirates, and they're looking very good. Their only loss was to Tosa East. Coach Merg mentioned Providence Academy out of Minnesota that they played over the break. That was a great it wasn't really an event. Providence Academy just came down and played Tosa East and Arrowhead on back-to-back nights. And
I think Notre Dame as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I don't think they played Notre Dame. They're not on our schedule anyway.
Oh no, Providence Catholic played Notre Dame out of Illinois. Apologies.
So that's a 4-time defending state champion out of Minnesota in Division 2A, which I think is their second smallest. It's a private school, but Madden Greenway goes there. She's a Kentucky commit, daughter of Chad Greenway, former Vikings player. She's a state champ in soccer, basketball, and track, and one of the elite players in the country. Scored 4,000 points in her career. Minnesota allows 7th and 8th graders to play. She's got a good chance to hit 5,000 and take over as the leading scorer in Minnesota State history. But Wisconsin held their own.
Load of points.
Tosa East won by 10. Arrowhead won by 11. In that Tosa East game, Close to Prey and Litza all had 21. And then Natalie Cuso had 41 for Arrowhead. So we talked about it. I mean, Wisconsin team showed out in some crossover competition there. I mentioned Milwaukee Academy of Science. They went 6-0 over the last 10 days or whatever it is, including a win over Pius, the number 1 team in Division 2. Kamora Smith hit a game-winning 3 from the corner. That was at that Rathke event at Franklin. That was the first loss for Pius this year. Kimberly's Haley Doulis committed to Marquette recently as well. So congratulations to her. That's a good commit and a good get for her. Colton, don't delete those unbeatens. Let's just mention them quickly. But some 1,000-point scores on the girls' side. Avery Glens from Leva Strum, Aliyah Newby from Almond Bancroft, Tegan Schenecker from Oregon, Ella Verbaten from Wrightstown, and Tessa Bryan from Wanakee, who we mentioned earlier. And then congratulations to Natalia Donaldson from Beaver Dam, who took over as the school's all-time leading scorer. And given the incredible talent that has been there over the last number of years, a big-time accomplishment for her. Obviously, why am I spacing? Maddie
Wilkie,
excuse me. Yeah. If she would have been healthy all 4 years, probably would have pushed that total a little bit higher, but an incredible accomplishment for her. Colton had on our group planning document had put together the list of unbeatens. We won't necessarily run through all of them, but noteworthy on the girls' side as we sit here after the holiday break, 17 teams unbeaten in total across all 5 divisions. Colton, how many we got left in boys?
23 left in boys. So week out, does that number shrink by 6 this upcoming week? I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean across the board from D1 to D5 on the boys and the girls side, it's pretty spread out and pretty even. Like the amount of teams, it's about 3 or 4 from each division that are still undefeated. So it's a pretty good amount.
Yeah, I think a testament to the boys side and the girls side, the D1 and D2s. There's 3 on each, I think, for both, and 2 in girls and D2. But I think that's a testament to, again, those bigger, better schools. I think they're doing a really good job of scheduling and playing each other. So, I mean, I'd love to go back and see where we were at this point, maybe over the last couple of years, and see kind of when those last of the unbeatens fell.
Well, maybe you have some time in your work schedule this week to look that up.
Colton, what do you recall roughly how many unbeatens there were heading into the state tournament, or excuse me, into the playoffs last year? I know we lost a number in the playoffs, and did we get any even at the state tournament? Wisconsin Lutheran, or had they lost in the regular season?
They had lost 1 in the regular season. I think they lost one of them to West Allis. I think they split with that West Allis last year. I don't know if we had Bonduel might know. Bonduel lost to Roncalli in that. I don't know if we had an unbeaten going into the state tournament last year.
I don't think there was.
Survey says negative.
Yeah.
On the boys' side, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Bonduel had the 1 loss. And then on the girls' side, as I pull it up quick, nobody either.
Yeah.
So that was
no one.
Nobody even heading into the state tournament. Usually we get, maybe one that's a state champion is undefeated, but
especially like in D5, you get usually.
I think you're right, Colton. I think the extra games, first of all, obviously playing 24 games as opposed to 20 just a few years ago makes it harder. And a lot of teams have used, especially those top teams, have used those extra games to play really good teams. That increases your chances of taking a loss at some point.
Yeah. Last segment here, before we get into an awesome interview. We didn't touch on it at the top, but we interviewed Coach Mary Merg from Wauwatosa East, defending Division II state champion. Really great interview. Before we get to that, let's get to our stat sheet stuffers. On the boys' side, Xavier Edwards out of DC Everest, he's a senior. They got 3 wins over the break. They're playing really, really well. They went to River Falls, and they got wins over River Falls, and then they gave West Salem their first loss of the year. It was a 100-78 win over an undefeated West Salem team. They also beat Lakeland earlier in the break, but Xavier in that West Salem game went for a triple-double, 17 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists. He is our boys' stat sheet stuffer for the holiday week.
Doesn't West Salem, don't they have their gym? Have either of you guys been in their gym?
The new one, the features
one?
Well,
didn't they have like a gym that like used to have like the track up above and like, you know what I'm talking about? Like the old school,
I can
like
tell
where you could run around the track and stuff above the gym type thing.
I can tell you in a couple weeks. We play there in a couple weeks.
It's
I
been a while. I think I've been to West Salem. I think we used to do our scrimmage there when I was in high school, but I don't recall what it looked like exactly. I know with Wisconsin Dells High School, it doesn't have like a full track where you could like time whatever, but it does have an upper mezzanine that does
that goes all the
you
way
can go
around.
down. Yeah, you can go
Okay.
down from that to the stands. Um,
I always
but
just
Dodgeville
love
just
I
has
love
that.
old school stuff like that where like there's like the second deck type thing and like you can go around it and sometimes there's like actual like walkways all the way around it.
yeah,
I thought West Salem had something like that.
they might be. I kind of remember that. The Dells one is new. It's maybe 5 years old, something like that.
Okay.
So it's not, that's
But I might
not,
be thinking of somewhere else too.
yeah. But it's an incredible facility. They have that up there when you do youth tournaments there. Then people can stand up there instead of having to all
Hmm.
come down on the court and everything. It's
Trav,
definitely cool.
have you been to Dodgeville? Is it a pretty similar build? Because Dodgeville has that as
I've
well
not
with
been to
their new gym.
Dodgeville's new gym. No,
Okay.
I mean I played at Dodgeville. Dodgeville was a cracker box gym,
I
the
loved
old
that
gym.
gym, the old
It,
gym.
it was a cool gym to play at. Very homey feeling, but it was not very big, and they were
No.
right on top of you.
Yeah, they were.
All right, stat sheet stuffer on the girls' side. Let's go with Brooke Wellnitz, Argyle Pecatonica Jr. She had 18 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 blocks in a very good game against Lomira. 56-53. Argyle Pecatonica got a win in that one. And then later in the week or next day, maybe it was, I can't remember. It was at the Marshall tournament. And against Marshall, she had 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 steals in that one.
Yeah, that's a good couple wins for Argyle Pack. One of the better teams in D5 this year. Now is Brooke is the younger sister of Jen, correct? Head coach.
Head coach Jen Wellnitz, and also more familial connections. The Butler girl that's on that team, her sister played at Blackhawk and was a great player there. The Jen Wellnitz, the Argyle Pecatonica head coach, is the daughter-in-law of Darlington Mike Flanagan. They play coming up here very soon, maybe this week, in fact. And I think actually Mike Flanagan hit a milestone. I'm going to have to look that up. I think, or he's going for a milestone of some kind. I can't remember if it's wins or games coached. He's coming up on some kind of milestone. So I'll double check that one.
Awesome. Well, stay here. That interview with Coach Merg is coming up. We'll follow with our preview, but you won't want to miss it. We filmed it. We recorded it before we did this, so we're getting a little out of sorts, but it was a great interview. Someone we hope to have back in next couple months. So, and we are here with our first interview of 2026. We've got Wauwatosa East head coach Mary Merg. Coach, Happy New Year. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing well. We're starting off 2026 on a good note. Eager to see what the next couple months may bring for Tosa East girls basketball, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, before we get into the interview, I want to give you a little bit of flowers. I want to kind of go through your resume post Greendale.
Okay.
For those that don't know, Coach Merg played 4 years at UW Whitewater. When you left UW Whitewater, you were the all-time leading scorer.
Yeah.
Not to have surpassed that since, but you also got to play in 4 NCAA tournaments. You were a national runner-up as a junior, and then you also made it to the Final Four as a senior, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So you got to play basketball at a pretty high level. That's awesome. After that, you were 1 year assistant coach at St. Mary's. You were a grad assistant for Stanford from 2015 to 2017. Came back, and you've been at Wauwatosa East ever since. Head coach, I think 2018, right? First year?
Yeah, I had spent 1 year as an assistant at Tosa East with Brian Hendricks, and then he left for DS and kind of slid into that head coach role ever since.
Yeah, so you've kind of got to experience basketball at every level, especially playing at Greendale. Then you got to go play in some really high-stake collegiate games at the D3 level at UW Whitewater. Got to coach at Stanford, got to see the game again from a whole new level, and now back home at Tosa East. So being an athlete that's gotten to play You've played at a really high level. You've succeeded and excelled at a really high level, and now you've got a team of girls. And I think you have 4 commits right now, right? In the
Yeah.
senior class.
Yeah.
How have you been able to use your experience and your knowledge and everything you gained over those years and kind of help teach, guide the senior group and all of the groups that you've gotten to coach?
Yeah, I think it's just like a variety of experiences, since high school going to, an elite Division 3 school, that conference is so challenging and tough. And deciding for me personally, I'd rather stay closer to home, hence go to Whitewater and compete for a national championship, which we certainly did, came up short, but loved my 4 years at Whitewater. Knew I wanted to coach basketball. Wasn't sure if that was the collegiate level or high school level. Got to learn a ton from Mandy Pearson, who is now at Duluth, Division 2. She used to be at St. Mary's when I was there. Had the opportunity to go out to California, so why not learn from Tara Vanderveer and see the game from a completely different lens, not just on the court things, but off the court. What is the world of Division 1 athletics? And it was a really eye-opening 2 years. I learned a ton. I felt like I was just like an apprenticeship out there learning from her, the system, Division 1, Pac-12, RIP, the Pac-12 conference. But I love that conference for women's basketball. Those were the days of going against Kelsey Plum and Sabrina Nescu and getting scouting reports against Mike Neighbors. And I mean, there's such Kelly Graves scouting reports. I took a lot of different things from not just Stanford, but other Pac-12 opponents too as well. And then when my time at Stanford was done, coming back to Milwaukee, I decided I think it'd be kind of cool to be a high school coach. At the end of the day, I really wasn't looking at moving all across the country, which Division 1 coaches tend to do early on in their career. I personally wanted to move back to Wisconsin and thought it would be cool to kind of shape the lives of anywhere from, third grade on to 12th grade and see that impact. And I sit here today and I've known our senior class, Makai Litza, the Emma Close, since they've been in 5th grade. And so it's really cool. It's really neat experience to kind of see their development as a spectator for the youth and as their coach in high school. And I think just having a wide range of experience and not just coaching, but playing really helps me, A, relate to them, B, understand where each level they are at and what they're looking to get to, and just support them along the way.
Coach, I'm curious, how did you get connected with that opportunity at Stanford? Someone from the Midwest playing in Wisconsin D3, coaching briefly.
Yeah.
How does that come about for you?
So there's a program called So You Want to Be a Coach. It is it's for players who just graduate college or 1 year out, and it's kind of like a coaching seminar for any young woman out there. And so I applied after my 1 year at St. Mary's. A little tidbit, my brother actually is on the coaching staff for the Boston Celtics. He, back before his time at the Celtics, he developed like an analytical defensive strategy method. I used that at St. Mary's, and I kind of did some analytics defensively for St. Mary's. Stanford reached out to all of the people that got invited to the So You Want to Be a Coach program down in Tampa. I was one of them that got the email. I remember jokingly oh, let me just apply for this. I'm just a D3 kid. And I applied for it, just why not? And shocked that I made a final interview. I interviewed down in Tampa. I showed them kind of the analytics side of what I brought, and they liked it and offered me the job. And so kudos to them for, just not necessarily looking at division and looking at their interview candidates. And it was a really hard decision, as much as it sounds like it wouldn't be. I am definitely a Midwest person through to through. So to move to California was a big step. And at the end of the day, it was just about me getting outside my comfort zone. And it was a great decision. And I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Coach, you talked a little bit about we've talked about you a little bit. We've brought you up in previous podcasts, previous episodes about how we think that you're a great advocate, not just for the game, but for girls athletics in general within our state, within the region, within everything. Um, we talked about, we touched on your experience at the college level, your different coaching experiences that you had, and even when you got to Tosa East, you've had different experiences, right? You had your first year, I think you were 15-9, and then you had a couple years where the wins were the WNL column were a little
Yeah.
mismatched compared to how they've been the last two.
Yeah.
How has that helped you those years where January and February probably get a little long? How have those helped shape you just as a coach and in your experiences moving in and having the success that you've had the last couple?
Yeah, getting the job at Tosa East, there was a lot of pressure that I think I put on myself, and just by being a young female in this position, and there was some imposter syndrome of like I wanted to do well, I wanted to lead. We had a great senior class my first year, so we did all right. They graduate, and I had people transfer away from our program. Two high players transferred away. I was left with not a ton of talent, and there's nothing that really a coach can do in those situations. And yeah, it was hard. I'm not gonna sit here and say it was easy. It was very hard, and it was extremely humbling at the same time. And I think it made me a 10 times better coach to coach a team that we couldn't even get across half court when teams pressed us. The greater metro at that time was super tough. We just didn't have that skill, and it was challenging. But I had to figure out the why, and I had to figure out other means to have a successful season, not based on wins and losses. And for me, I really had to drop my own ego. I've never been a part of a losing season, and as a player or as a coach previously. And I had to drop my ego and kind of drop everything and start from scratch and really go back to why are we here? How can I make the game fun for the girls? How can I make the practice fun and rewarding and get better? And it was not easy, but I honestly think it made me the coach I am today. And if I can go back in time, I'm not going to have this tremendous record, but I would do it all over again. And I would go through that challenge and that adversity, and with those kids who never gave up, who stuck by our program when people were transferring out. I just have a lot of gratitude towards those years, for the players who are there, and towards my younger self for not giving up. And obviously, last year winning that state championship felt really nice, but it was on the foundation of the girls that came before them. And it just felt like a pretty surreal moment to go from a 3-19 winless in conference to that peak at the end. So
Yeah, what would you say, I mean, was like one of the biggest driving forces for you, ambition wise during those times? I mean, like you said, year one, like you had a really solid upper class type team, right, with some good leaders, and then it kind of falls off after that, right, for a couple of years. Like, what kept you ambitious to continue to drive? I think you maybe touched a little bit about on this already, but I'd like to hear a little bit
yeah,
more.
honestly, like I couldn't give up on the kids who stayed, to be honest. Like the easy thing to do would have been to find a different school for me where I could walk in there and we could have a winning season. Or the easy thing, as parents are complaining and players are complaining, like easy thing for me to do would have been a step aside. Like that would have been the easy thing to do. But there's those kids on that team that I just truly loved, and I cared about them. And it was hard enough for them, like going out there and giving it their best shot. And I just did not want to feel like I gave up on them too. And I really stuck around for those kids, because I love those kids. And I just wanted to do everything I could to make them better and provide them with like a great experience.
Was there
Before
anything that you did during that time, you mentioned having to kind of change some things to, adjust to those lean years and keep kids interested, involved, and build things. Is there anything that you did or incorporated during that time that you have continued that you think is beneficial that maybe would be helpful for other programs? Interested to hear, if there's things that you
Yeah.
changed during that time that are still impactful for you.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, like I really cared less about the wins and losses at that point. And to be honest, like I talk a lot to my current team about peak potential and just like controlling what we can control, no matter what our record is. I think too, you got to dive into that youth program. I think any good high school coach knows is that when we were 3 and 19, I was going to the youth events. I was going to see Litza in 5th grade, and I was going to talk to our youth coaches, and I was trying to think outside the box. And how do we get kids involved? How do we get the numbers? I was going to run some practices just to show my face. I think I really dove deep into that youth program because for me, I think like college athletics, you get to recruit your own kids, right? In high school athletics, your recruits are your youth program. Like that, those are your recruits, right? And so, how can I make sure that they're off to a good foot? That by the time they get to high school, they're in a better situation than my girls previously, and not just leaving it up by chance of if they have a good youth coach or not. So I think I dove hardcore into that youth program and kind of figured out led with the message, let's control what we can control, that I still talk about today.
Yeah, and if you wouldn't mind, could you touch a little bit more on, because I think we've talked about this many times in the last 5 weeks about just the participation rate. And what do you see as really big driving forces on fueling better participation in your youth levels? What have you incorporated exactly? Give us some examples of maybe things that, whether it's you being at practice, bringing your varsity players down into the schools, into your feeder systems. How have you at Wauwatosa East continued to like build your program up in terms of numbers and participation rate?
Yeah, I think when I got to East, I think our youth program was 5th grade through 8th grade, one team per level. And I remember just going into elementary schools with flyers and about our upcoming tryouts, right? And then we opened it up to 4th grade, and then kind of yard signs, anything to get kids active and involved in basketball. And then once we got them involved, how do we keep them there? Like, how do we keep the numbers? And that's me engaging with those youth coaches. And to be quite honest, like I think sometimes high school coaches also get lucky. I got really lucky that when my first year at the coach, we had a lot of 5th graders that were really interested in basketball, and they had great youth coaches. And that was the class of 2026 now, right? So how can I get this class to stay involved and stay active in basketball in our community, and even commit to Tosa East for their high school tenure for that 4 years too? We were doing youth nights. It was a lot of me going to things. And I remember thinking as a kid, like, man, when I was at Greendale, I was in 2nd and 3rd grade, I was the ball girl. I did not even know what Greendale's record was in 2nd and 3rd grade, but I had a lot of fun. Turns out Greendale was not good at that time. So just like we weren't good. Like these kids are not good. They don't realize that we're like 3 and 19 and 5 or whatever. Like they just want to come and see the game. And I think I just really made an effort to connect with the youth coaches and be there to support them if they had any questions.
Yeah, we now that we've kind of gone over a little bit of your past, let's hop into the here and now. Let's hop into the 25-26 season. Your group is off to another great start, coming off of back-to-back state tournament appearances. Obviously, reigning Division II state champion. You bump up to D1 this year. A lot of really good teams, especially at the top of D1. I think, and I was even talking to Coach Chris on the boys' side. I think that there's a lot of really good teams on both the boys and girls' side right now at D1, 1 through almost 20.
Yeah.
Um, um, you guys have started out 10-0. You've played one of, if not the tougher schedules in the state. Could you just go into a little bit of what, when you see the group that you have coming back, you see everything going, what goes into that schedule planning? Obviously, you look and you say, "Hey, I want to get the Arrowheads and the Kimberly." Tell us how that goes.
Yeah, going into the state championship game last year, we knew that if we won that game, we would get bumped up to D1. And if we lost the game, we would stay in D2. Obviously, I told them, hey, let's go up to D1, guys, And so the game ended in our favor, and we felt like we wanted to show that we're in the best in state regardless of division. And obviously, if we're going to play Division 1 opponents, in that playoff, we wanted to see them during the season. I also got a feel of our conference play last year, and I felt like, you know what? I feel like we definitely need to have a tougher schedule than last year. Last year, we scheduled a ton of D2 teams. And so that's us reaching out to Arrowhead and reaching out to Kimberly for the Kettle Moraine tournament. And I knew Nina would be good bringing a lot of their kids back, and obviously Pewaukee. And so it's just trying to find purpose in our schedule, and to kind of like spread that out throughout the year. So we're not just seeing all these good games right away in November. We got Arrowhead in January, the Pewaukee in December. Kimberly was supposed to be in November. And so kind of spread it out those really tough non-conference games as well, and kind of see what you're made of. And luckily, Arrowhead reached out about Providence Academy. I 100% was like, yes, please. And so that was a great game for us, a fun game, a cool opportunity, no matter what happened for the kids. And so, yeah, I think this is it's fun. It's about the kids, and these are the games. This is why we put so much effort into it. It's not for games that are easy. We play for these moments and for those moments, and it's just providing our players and our kids those moments, regardless of the score.
Coach, you're one of the highest scoring teams in the state, if not the highest scoring in the state, averaging well over 80 points a game. What goes into your offensive philosophy, your style of play that has allowed you to do that?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things is that every team is a different puzzle, right? And so what we do this year, to be honest, may look different than what we do next year. It's kind of about what are the pieces that we have and what fits our mold. Well, luckily, we've had the same kind of pieces to our puzzle the last couple of years, with some of these kids starting since their freshman year. So my favorite offense is transition offense. Plain and simple. I tell that to them all the time. I would love for us just to go, not even run a set. But if it's a dead ball situation, side out of bounds, I watch a ton of college basketball, and why not steal concepts from the collegiate level? We've run a varied differences of motion offenses that you'll see at all different levels of college basketball. And whether I think in the past we used to run a little bit of dribble drive, now we run a different offense. But I first off is transition. Second off, let's have people make decisions and put people in the right place for them to be successful. I think it is just about letting the girls know why we are running this offense and how they can be successful while running the offense. And that's just something that I see when I watch college basketball, something I saw when I was at Stanford. A lot of the concepts come from Stanford, and putting people in places where they can be successful. I stress a lot about good shots. We want to shoot as a team over 50% from the field, and our 3-point percentage, we wanted to be over 35. And that's them taking good shots. Yeah, do they work on their shot a ton? They do outside of practice, but we want them to be in a position where they can put the ball in the hoop at a high rate.
Yeah, looking at your team stats for this year, you want to put the ball in the hoop at a high rate. You want to shoot. You guys are shooting 40%, I think, from three right now.
Yeah.
But you're also assisting on 62% of your field goals. Now that that is a number that any coach would be very, very happy with. You have, I think, 4 or 5 girls that have 10 plus assists through your 10 games. So that takes a group that is obviously bought into the unselfish part of it. That takes a group that is really looking to make that extra pass, get that great shot. Talk a little bit about the unselfishness of your group.
Yeah, it helps. A lot of these kids, like I said, have been playing since fifth grade together. So they almost know what the other kid is going to do before they even get there. But it all comes down, these kids want to win, right? And I think they really respect and they know each other's strengths really well. Um, and so they're not afraid to make that extra pass. They're not afraid to, if they're going to go inside and if they get doubled, they're making that pass out, and we watch a lot of film. We watch film before every practice about what is a good shot and what is not a good shot, right? And these kids really have a high level IQ of shot selection, and it's not about them. It's not about me getting points. It's about, we want to win this game and the extra pass is open. Or I'm inside, it's a one-on-one opportunity inside. We want to score that. And so I think it's just understanding and playing with each other, understanding what other strengths are on our team, finding the open player, and finishing around the rim.
I think there's a lot that goes into your culture as a team or a program, right? When it comes to averaging, like, 20 assists a game. When it doesn't, where you have that mantra of it doesn't matter who scores as long as we score type thing. And you talked about making decisions and making the extra pass, right? And that just becoming a habit for your program. Is that something that you kind of instill within your culture of, just playing for each other at all times and like really making sure that we or us is a major phrase or comment that's always happening?
For sure, 100%. Easier said than done, right? But that's something that we definitely strive for in our culture, is that we over me attitude. And I think they really do understand that they need each other to be successful. Nobody's going to have a one-man show, and we often talk about going to games. It really could be anybody's game, and that's the fun part. Like, maybe it's Micaiah's game, or maybe Allie Depri goes off, or maybe Audrey's game, the inside offensive rebound putbacks. Like, we kind of go into it not knowing what's necessarily going to happen, but how fun is that, right? And also responding, if it's not your day, that's okay. As long as we did our job and came out and did the best that we could. But yeah, I think it's something that we really strive, is that unselfish play. We talk a lot about it on film. And I think these girls, they have a really high basketball IQ, and they know when to make the right decisions.
Doesn't sound very fun to play against.
Coach, not obviously, but coming into the year, big change in just your personal life, right? We have the introduction of twins. Twins for Coach Merg, something that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But what has been the most difficult, if maybe not difficult, maybe that's the incorrect term, but what has changed possibly the most from last year to this year as far as in season just where headspace?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. In full transparency, last year was really tough. It was actually during my first trimester of this pregnancy, and I was throwing up every day. And I think the state championship game, I threw up over 8 times that day. It was a really rough pregnancy, and I talked a lot about being player led. And man, it was a wild ride. But this year it changed more. It changed me more than I thought, to be honest. I'm blessed with twins. My wife joked that, hey, if one kid, we'll probably coach next year, twins, haha, we'll probably have to talk about that. And, I was like, it's impossible. Their twins don't run in my family. Like, we'll be good. And we had twins, and then we had to talk about basketball season. But here I am, and I think a couple things really stand out. I think first off, that time commitment, right? I don't think you really realize the time you are away from home until you have kids, you have dependents. And I realized, wow, I'm going to work all day. I get home for 2 hours and then I go back to the gym. And by the time I get home at 9:30, the kids are in bed, you know? And that's something that will always be there no matter how as the kids get older and older. And so I think it's you realize just how much time commitment coaching really is once you add kids in the mix, you know. Second off, I feel like you start to understand the sacrifice that your partner really makes as well. You know, that goes with that time commitment. But man, my wife's playing a 2v1 zone most of the time at home and then at night, you know, and trust me, twins are not, it's not as easy, you know. And so I think of my partner and the sacrifices they make. And then I think lastly, my mindset has changed too. It's just like, how do I handle hard things in relation to basketball? You know, how do I handle parent conversations and how do I handle challenging player situations? I think for me, I personally have less patience and I have less, I would say, stress when those things arise because at the end of the day, this is just a game, you know? And like, I really told my parents in my parent meeting, like, I have kids. I could be somewhere else right now, but I'm sacrificing my time because I love these kids and I love this program and I want to do the best that I can to help our current players be the best they can be. And I just feel like I almost let go of pressure as well. And just remembering that at the end of the day, this is just a game and I get to go home to my family. And regardless of all the outcomes, just, yeah, I just, it's a weird thing that I didn't think that would happen, but I almost feel like I have less stress and less pressure on me. And yeah, so.
Coach, starting a family and the you know the challenges and the additional time that is required from that is one of the leading reasons that coaches, young coaches especially, get out of coaching, and especially female coaches as well. Have you thought about that and you know processes and things that you need to put in place so that you have the right structures and things to continue on to be able to coach? We would love you to coach forever and ever as a great ambassador for the game and a very successful coach and great, you know, shining example of what young women can do. Is that something that you have thought about and made intentional decisions on and make sure that you're in a good place to continue to do what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, going into this season, I did not want to leave the class of 2026. That was very important to me. They're important people, and I reached out to a couple collegiate coaches who are moms, because honestly, I don't have a lot of examples at the high school level, in terms of like infants and like little kids. Where a lot of our female coaches that I do know at the high school level, their kids are older, um, or they just don't have kids yet, right? And so I was unsure. I actually reached out to Angie Murphy, former coach, because I know that she started coaching at Verona when they were very little, and we kind of chatted via email a little bit. And so I really only knew that example. The West Al's Hale coach also is a mom. And so we chat a little bit too as well. But I'm a person that I always want to reach out and ask. I'm a person that always wants to learn from others. Our defense is a defense that I reached out to a different coach in Dave Ross at Port Washington 4 years ago and chatted with him over coffee. And so it was a decision that I felt like I just don't have a lot of examples around me. And it also, though, at the same time makes me want to set that example for others around me and set that example for my players that you can have a family and you can coach basketball, or you can have a family and you can do a career and a passion that you love. And it's not easy by any means. I feel like I'm a nursing mother. I'm getting up at 1 a.m., 4 a.m. if I'm lucky to get um, I can't remember the last time I got decent sleep, to be honest. But you can do that. You can do it, and you can do it with a supportive partner. You can do it with a supportive community. And I'm blessed. My kids, my two sons are healthy. That definitely helps the situation that they're healthy. They're doing well. But I really do want to be example, because you're right. I feel like we continue to lose really good coaches and young coaches who just get their feet wet and then they're like, this is too much for me. Whether it's starting a family, whether it is parents, whether it's personal things. Like I just keep seeing every year it's like over 100 coaching vacancies. And I feel like we're losing a lot of good coaches, and I want to kind of make that difference, and I want to be somebody that somebody can lean on, and I want to show them that you can do it both. You can be a mom and you can be a coach, you know. And Molly Miller, the coach at ASU, said, I'm a better coach when I became a mom. So hopefully that works out for me. And so yeah, I'm doing the best I can, and I think the players know that too. And I'm just trying to enjoy it.
Speaking of ways to kind of reach out to coaches, you recently, a couple months ago, started a Slack channel where I think it's for coaches to get talk, whether it's strategy, whether it's culture, whether it's anything. I think you've got different channels in there where coaches from around the state. I don't know if you have any out of state coaches, but you just have a place where coaches can come, connect, throw ideas off each other, and just lean on one another. Something that you had mentioned recently. Where'd the idea come from to do that?
Yeah, I think we can do a better job of supporting other coaches. Personally, I don't know if I would be here talking to you guys right now if I didn't have people that I leaned on when it was really hard at Tosa East, when I had people transferring or parent problems, or we just were not winning any basketball games. I really leaned on Brian Hendricks and Mel Leibel and George over at West Dallas Hill. And they really were the ones that kind of gave me some optimism, some camaraderie, and that like I wasn't alone, you know. And I feel like when we get coaches, you know, we can feel like we're the villain in so many situations, and we're giving up so much time and sacrifice. And when things don't go our way, or it was really hard. And for me, like I said, I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for the people that I leaned on when things got tough. Right. And so I really think, how can we do a better job as a state, and how can I do a better job to let other coaches know, like, hey, if you need somebody to talk to, whether it's about basketball or if there's a parent situation or a player thing or anything at all, like I'm here, because it can be really, really hard and it can consume you. Like we're all here because we're passionate, maybe a little bit of obsessive, a little bit, and it can consume you. And I don't want people to give up and walk away because they didn't have somebody that made them feel a little bit less alone in this job, because it's lonely being at top. And I just want to provide people that comfort.
Coach, I'm curious how that has gone and what you've, you know, what people have been able to get out of it. It was a very cool idea that I saw you take on, and you know, as a representative of the WBCA, I'm wondering if it's something that the WBCA or us or whoever can share and grow and help navigate, or you know, help promote that even.
For sure. You know, I was talking to my partner. I'm like, I'm trying to feel like a way to connect with people that's not just like a huge group chat. You know, like I was like, I don't know what that could be. And they mentioned Slack. I'm like, I've never heard of Slack, but sure. Talk to me about Slack. And so I set it up, and it's a way, you know, that different channels, and I got used to it, got in it, and I started inviting people. I just put it on Twitter, DM the coaches that I talked to via Twitter, and kind of got that ball rolling. There's definitely some coaches that use it more than others, whether that is like, hey, like, what do you guys use for your scouting reports? Or what do you guys look at in terms of stats? What's important stats for you? Or I have this situation. I would love to use it more. It's kind of like the coaches are gonna as much as they use it, they'll get things back, right? There's definitely coaches on the Slack channel that haven't um, been as active, which is totally fine. They probably don't have any questions right now or any insights, but it's an opportunity. It's a space that, hey, something came up and you have a question. Here are other coaches in the state that can give you their insight, and we're here to support you whenever that time is. That's something that I think, I talked to the mentorship program at WBCA, and I was like, listen, like, I know there's a mentorship program. Please, here's my email. If you have any young coaches that you feel like could benefit from me, please don't hesitate to reach out. But I just don't know if young coaches are understanding that program's there, or are we getting a reach to everybody? Like, how can we, the concept kind of came out of John Carrier in the Minnesota region about, they do Minnesota roundtables, right? They do a Zoom like once a month or whatever the topic is, and they get coaches together. And I think back to my college days when I was at Stanford. The Final Four was such a fun event because not only was it the Final Four, but you got to connect with so many other coaches during the Final Four convention. And we have the WBCA and we have the Fall Clinic, which is great. How can we just install more roundtables discussions? How can we just install more just coaches meeting other coaches instead of me presenting on my competitive based practices that we do daily? And so it's just trying to think outside the box of what can I do better and how can I support other people? Because, man, when it was tough for me, it was really tough. And I think this sport is great and it needs more coaches. It needs great coaches. And I just want to be a person that somebody can go to when it's lonely at the top.
Yeah, so if those are just tuning in late, Coach Merg has started a Slack channel, and it's a place where coaches around the state, new, old, young, tenured, they can go, they can throw ideas off each other, they can lean on one another. Coach, why don't you give your Twitter handle a plug just so if anyone's listening and is interested in reaching out, they can do so?
Yeah, it is m.merg, M-E-R-G is my last name. Feel free to follow, the ideal world would be something on the WIAA or WBC website, that's a more formal online forum or something of sorts. But for now, you got this Slack channel. Feel free to DM me the link. And we would love to have you guys talk shop. I can talk shop all day. So I often check it. And it's a great place just to maybe meet a new coach or ask a question that you've wanting to ask. If you're going against a box and one on Friday, see what other coaches have done against a box and one. So
I can see it in Trav's grin. He might be emailing you sometime this week just to maybe get more ideas on how we can help with that.
Yeah.
I
right.
know
And it's just about,
I know the person that runs the WBCA website, so we can connect.
Okay. Yeah, and it's just like, how can we just make our state better in basketball? There's only so many things I can control. I can't control that we don't have a shot clock, and I can't control this or that. But if I can help in terms of our mentorship and kind of build this camaraderie between coaches in Wisconsin, I think that'll help our sport as well.
I think there's something to say about the therapeutic side of things too, with coaches being able to get together and realizing that we all have the same problems and issues going on within our own programs. And it's nice to be able to kind of bounce ideas and issues and how to deal with them with other coaches. So I think what you're doing with that is really great. And like you said, it can become even bigger with the right hands, reaching in. So I think that we're definitely onto something good there.
Yeah, you hit the therapeutic for sure. And sometimes you just need venting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many of you guys have just needed a vent about something? I needed a vent all the time. I still need a vent sometimes, when I have these situations arise. And so I think like you said, Chris, like it can be definitely therapeutic. And I want to be that ear that somebody can just like, man, give me 10 minutes of your time. I just need to talk to you about this situation and I'm here to listen.
Yeah, winning or losing, right? Like it doesn't really matter. There are always things that come up
Doesn't.
that are a lot of issues, right? So I mean, um,
Yes.
and we're dealing with kids and we're dealing with teenagers, right? Like our life depends
Yeah.
on teenage kids. Like that is, as a teacher and
Yeah.
a coach, I can tell you, like that is one of the hardest things to deal with of all time, on top of having your own family at the same time. So
Yes.
it's a lot.
Yes, for sure.
I really like those TikToks that you see where it's the spouse in the stand and she's filming her husband or wife, and they're just like, I married someone that their
Yes.
mood depends on 14 to 18-year-olds for 5 months of the year.
Yeah, I definitely got shared that one by my wife for sure. But
I
it's
have,
like accurate, right?
yeah, it is.
So
I have, out of fear, I've sent that to my wife or showed it to her and made sure that I'm not in the room when she opens it up, because I'm not sure what her reaction was going to be. Because it's like they always sit up in the stand straight across from where our bench is. So like if I ever
okay.
glance off the floor, I can see my family up there, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh god. Every once in a while, the thought goes through my mind during the game is like, man, I wonder if my wife's actually being able to enjoy the game right now, having to like herd in my 3 children. So
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And then going home, be like, oh man, what is this going to be like, you know?
hmm
Well, Coach, we're going to get you out of here with a couple rapid fire questions. Again, we really appreciate your time. Would love, again, at probably some point down the future, getting you on again. But just some rapid fire questions, something a little fun, a little just turn the brain off, just answer. When we ask Coach Lepisto these, we got about 5-minute answers. So if you want to keep it a
Okay.
little under that, we should be good.
All right.
Favorite gym to coach in outside of your own?
Oh, man. Man, that's a tough one. Um, gosh. Wow, this is a tough one.
I don't think it even has to be a high school either.
No.
Okay. Okay. Um, I mean, if I stick to high school and not my collegiate days, I would probably say Tosa West. It's a very similar size. I really don't love the huge field houses personally. Like, I love the homey feel of Tosa East. I don't love that we only have 6 basketball hoops, but I love the homey feeling of it. And so Tosa West, obviously, it's a big rivalry for us, Tosa East versus West. It's a great size gym where it gets really loud, easy. I love that environment too. And so it'd probably be Tosa West.
What's the most impactful data point or stat that you would say to track in game?
Oh man, you guys, these are great questions. I would go possessions. So how many possessions do they have and how many possessions do we have?
Biggest non-negotiable.
The controllables. So attitude and effort.
Favorite thing to draw up in a game.
I love an ATO at timeout backdoor play. I don't want to give that away for future coaches, but you know.
What is your favorite song to hear from, whether it's your pep band or any pep band? When you go into the gym and the pep band's playing, what's your favorite song that you need to hear?
As corny as it is, our pep band plays we have a Wauwatosa song, and I really just like our Wauwatosa school song. Our players are not as much of a fan of it, I think, or I don't even know if they know the lyrics. But yeah, I love our Wauwatosa school song, you know, pumps me up.
If there is a different favorite concession item outside of popcorn when you're at a game, what would it be?
Oh, you got me on the popcorn. I love to rate other schools' popcorns. Man, besides popcorn, I'll probably have to go for the nachos.
And last one, start, bench, and cut, skill, effort, and IQ.
Oh, man. start effort. I think it goes back to when we weren't great as a program record wise. One of my most fun years, we finished the season, I think, 10-16. And we just had so much fun because they just tried so hard and they had great attitudes. And for me as a coach, that season was one of the most enjoyable seasons because there was like zero drama. Everybody got along, parents were cool, and they just tried really hard and we had a lot of fun. And I think as a coach, like, it's really hard to coach effort sometimes. And so if I can just start effort, I think effort is number one for me. If you're just giving your best, that's going to make my job easier and way more enjoyable. So I would say start effort. I would say mine second tier bench IQ. I think if you can learn the game, you can inevitably get better at that game, and then cut talent. Because at the end of the day, this is high school girls basketball for me. And I think if the effort's there and the IQ and the willingness to learn, good things are bound to happen.
Fellas, any last questions for Coach Merg before we let her get out of here and on to her rest of her Sunday night?
No, just a big thank you for joining us. And again, thank you for being such a great advocate for high school basketball and especially girls basketball.
Thank you guys for having me. And if there's anything that you guys can think of or have any ideas about how to support other coaches or anything like that, please do not hesitate to ask. I'm happy to listen and share ideas. So
thanks again, Coach. We really appreciate you coming on. We hope to probably get you on again sometime this year if we find the right time. Good luck the rest of the year. I know.
Thank you.
Quite a few of us here have that Arrowhead matchup date kind of circled, but you got a few games before that. So thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, guys. You too.
Yeah, best of luck.
Thank you.
What an interview with Coach Merg. Can't thank her enough for taking the time out of her night. I think we say this every week. We go a little long-winded, but talking hoops can be a little addictive, especially with people that like to talk hoops, guys.
Yeah, it was really great to hear her. It was really great to hear her perspective on things and just her journey a little bit, right? Because being able to go and coach at a high Division I level, and then coming all the way back to the high school ranks is something that doesn't necessarily happen, right? It usually happens in that opposite direction type thing. But no, it's good, and like her passion obviously is there, and you can feel it with everything that she talks about, from the youth all the way up to her current program that she has going on at the high school.
We need to get Coach Merg on behalf of the basketball community, babysitter or something to allow her to continue to coach, because she is such a huge asset to the basketball community in the state. And as I said, an example for young women to get back in the game, to continue in the game, to stay in the game, and hope that we can keep her in the game as long as we possibly can.
Yeah, I 100% agree. As
if there are any extra babysitters, just let me know. I'll take one of those too.
As she mentioned, she does have a Slack channel. Go back, follow her on Twitter, give her a DM, or reach out to one of us, and we can put you in touch with her. It's a cool little community. I've hopped in it, been in there. A lot of guys and girls from all across the state just throwing ideas off each other. It's just a little safe space.
Really great idea that I think could honestly blow up and be huge if more people get involved, and just continuing to build that platform, I think, is really important for the game of basketball.
Yeah, similar to kind of how we dealt with our review. Because we went so long with Coach Merg, we're going to keep our preview just a little bit shorter. I'll have information out all week on the boys' side, at least about some of the top games to follow for every single night of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. As it feels like we're saying, there's big games in every corner of the state every single night again this week. Chris, in the southeast part of the state, what are we looking at? I know the North Shore's got a lot coming up.
Yeah, just a few to highlight that are going on. Nicolay at Wisconsin Lutheran on Tuesday. Speaking of great gyms before, that's the Wisconsin Lutheran gym is fantastic when you can pack that place. Having played there myself in high school and stuff, we won a conference championship in that gym, which was awesome. So like that gym's a really cool place to play in. So that one's going to be hopping on Tuesday night, and then a little bit later in the week on Thursday, Nicolay goes to Slinger. Going to be a battle of two teams at the top of the North Shore, and seeing what happens there. Got Brookfield East at Tosa West on Friday, which is going to be a great game. Two teams that are expecting to make deep runs in the playoffs this year as well. I do have to give a little shout out to my own team. We play at home against Whitefish Bay on Friday night as well.
Hey, I have told you that I haven't put you in the preview because I throw it to you at the end of the episode and ask you about your week.
No, I know. I just got to throw it out there. We're in the Southeast, so right now there's kind of basically a 5-way tie in the North Shore right now, with teams being 2-1 and 3-1, just by the amount of games that they've played so far in the conference, and everybody's kind of beaten everybody. So it's going to be a really important next couple weeks inside of our conference alone.
Yeah, and I will pause here to take a second to talk about the Hartford Orioles because, Coach, you've got you guys 9-1.
Yeah, 9-1 right now.
9-1,
Mm-hmm.
Best start in quite a few years. You had a really good win at the Jag over a pretty good team out of Iowa, so you aren't going unnoticed. I just am making sure to let you be able to talk about your squad post all of this.
Nah, that's okay. We'll continue to fly under the radar as much as possible. But no, credit to our guys for just buying in and dealing with me and the things that I expect of them on a daily basis. And they're just a group of kids who work really hard together and are all really honestly like best of friends and love hanging out with each other. I learned that a little too well, I think, yesterday as we stayed over in the Dells after our win. It was really fun, and yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited to be along for the ride on this with this group of kids and see what we can continue to do. But long way to go. It's 10 games in, but yeah, like you said, it's going 8-1 was the best start that we have had since the 05-06 season at Hartford, and being 9-1 now. I know that 05-06 team lost their next game. So we're looking at one of the best starts in school history right now.
Congrats, Coach. Like, I know how we've talked plenty about how your work ethic and everything. So congrats to you. Congrats to the Orioles. You guys have had a really good start. Keep at it.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Continuing with our preview on the northwest side of the state, we got a lot of really good matchups in the middle border this week. Not going to name them, but every team in the middle border is a really, really tough conference in the Division III side of things, and there's a lot of teams that are going to vie for spots and contention within that conference, and we're going to see quite a few more of those conference matchups. GET will play West Salem this week. They're two of the top contenders in the Coulee, and then Onalaska, who we talked about it, they're coming off of that illness stint over the break. They get La Crosse Central and Holman this week on Tuesday and Thursday. So two really tough matchups for a crew that is coaching staff and player like coming off of just a week of illness and hopefully getting back to health. One other game in that area, more centralized, is Stevens Point and Marshfield. I think I've touched on it in a preview. Marshfield already took out DC Everest, or already beat a really good DC Everest team inside the Wisconsin Valley, and I want to say their winning record is pushing close to 35 or 40 games within that conference over the last few years. So they get in a Spash team that's been pretty hot lately. Went up to Century Classic and I think took down a couple good teams. So, lastly, in the more central part of the state as well, Columbus Catholic challenge themselves to the WBY. They're playing a Spencer team that I think is 11 or 12-0, and going to be a really good matchup in the Clover Belt. How about that?
What was the score of that Spencer game the other night? 120 to 98 or something like that?
It was.
Yes,
it was crazy.
Yes.
I had to do a double take on that.
In regulation, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of points.
It is a lot of points.
Coach, what about the Madison Southwest side of the things? What are a couple games that we can pay attention to there?
What's going to be a great one is Oostburg at Lemira on Thursday. Man, I would love to say that. Yeah, I might just drive the 15, 20 minutes over to Lemira and watch that game on Thursday night. But I'm sure my wife wouldn't really appreciate that all that much. So we'll kind of whisper that one a little bit right now. But that's
how close does she follow? Would she know that Lemira is not in your division? Could you pass it off as a playoff scout?
There's she doesn't care to follow that closely, but she's not stupid either. So and she would be like, when do you ever go to scout a game when it's not inside of the conference? She at least knows all that stuff. So, yeah, I don't know, but that would be a great one to watch. And there's some good players in that one. And then Lake Mills at Lakeside. I mean, on Friday night, that one, big time rivalry, always great games, super competitive. Two really, really great coach teams. Shout out to my guy Ryan Benish, who was the head coach at Watertown when I was in high school, who's an assistant at Lake Mills now. So him and Steve Hicklin have really built something special there.
Is Brady his son?
Yep.
Yeah. Heck of a shooter.
They're from my neck of the woods originally. They're, what would it be? I can't remember, nephew or cousin. Lincoln Benish is a standout sophomore on the Reedsburg team. Also related to Coach Jay Benish.
Come on.
Yeah, Ryan is a graduate of Beaver Dam High School, actually. So yeah, he was quite the player.
Family trees. Trav, we went through the boys' side. Let's hear, what do we got on the girls' side coming into the first full week of girls' basketball in 2026?
A lot of obviously conference games really kick into high gear after the break, but Monday, it's still a lot of non-conference games, a lot of really good non-conference games. I mentioned Darlington Blackhawk. I double-checked. Coach Flanagan's getting recognized for going into the WBCA Hall of Fame. Of course, he was a head coach at Blackhawk for a number of years when the Wellnesses and the Butlers were there and had some great state title runs. He's now at Darlington. So Darlington plays at Blackhawk, and he'll play against his daughter-in-law, Jen Wellness, who's the head coach at Blackhawk. Other news from Southwest Wisconsin, though, former Prairie du Chien head coach Dave Casey passed away over the holiday break. He was a 25-plus year coach, girls coach at Prairie du Chien, led them to a state title, WBCA Hall of Famer. So some sad news in Southwest Wisconsin. But other games on the girls' side, again, Monday, some good ones in non-conference. Monona Grove and Whitefish Bay. You got Laconia and Appleton East as well, kind of one of those couple divisions apart matchups with Laconia always willing to challenge themselves. Levis Drum's got a tough week coming up. They are the undefeated top-ranked team in Division 5. They play at Blair Taylor on Tuesday. And actually on Monday, they host a pretty good Arcadia team. Also on Tuesday, a big one. Pius, who we talked about, just suffered their first defeat at Pewaukee, who is coming off that dominating win over Kimberly. So a huge one in the Woodland Conference. Then you've also got Kettle Moraine Lutheran at Hartford. A good week for Hartford. They've got some tough games on the schedule this week. Also at Whitefish Bay on Friday are the Orioles under Coach Daniels. Thursday, Wanakees at Beaver Dam, Elk Mound at McDonald Central. Some really good games up in the Clover Belt Conference in general. Regis is at Fall Creek. Columbus Catholic is at Owen Withy as well. Saturday, get some pretty good non-conference games. Some those ones where teams are looking to challenge themselves. Kettle Moraine Lutheran, always willing to challenge themselves. They welcome in Pius. Appleton East, after taking on Appleton North on Friday, they will welcome Eau Claire Memorial, a very good Eau Claire Memorial team, on Saturday. So some really good games throughout the week. Again, we're starting to get into some of those conference games in a lot of leagues, or more conference games at least. So going to be another great week of basketball on the girls' side.
Just looking at that girls' slate and just the list of games that you have and you mentioned, I mean, we talked about it in the preview about there's 17 girls teams left undefeated. If I were a betting man, which I'm not, I would say that number might shrink a little bit this week, just looking strictly at those matchups.
That's boring, Colton.
I have to be PG-13. Of course, once in a while. My wife's from Illinois. I had to take advantage of it when I visited.
Okay, that's better. Don't lie to the people.
That's our preview. One thing that is always interesting about the timing of coming back from this break is it feels like it's halfway through the year. It's not. We're nowhere close.
No.
Before we went live, I was saying how you talk about implementing things for the second part of your conference slate and just adding little wrinkles, whether it's defensively, offensively, rotation wise. And Chris, you're like, we're not even a third of the way through. And then I thought about it. We've played two conference games, so I guess we're 2/5 because we got a small conference. But yeah, we're not even halfway through.
No, January is always the month that really kind of starts to define and implement input where everybody is gonna be, right? And February then kind of finishes everybody off, right? So if you can survive and get through January on a high note, right, rolling into February, it probably means pretty darn good things for you.
Yeah. It's always fun these next probably 3 to 4 weeks of just looking at what you have, looking at what you can do, and thinking, well, the next time we play this team, what's going to be the little tidbit that we add? What's going to be the little adjustment? It's fun as a coach looking at the schedule that way.
Yeah, it's an ongoing process for sure. There's always something being written down, even when I'm sitting watching conference games and I'm like preparing for one team and I'm watching them play another one of our conference teams. Oh, wow, I just noticed that about that other team. Let me pull that scouting report up quick and jot that down. So there are endless things to go through and rabbit holes I fall into that I'm not proud of sometimes when I'm scouting.
And that's when you end up with, instead of one tab, you have 15 tabs open on your computer.
Yeah, I might have 40 open right now. So,
Trav, we did this in our last installment of it. We did Trav's trivia. This week we got a couple more questions for the people. Why don't?
Yeah, let's go back first of all and answer the previous ones. Chris, I think you said you got this right. Who was the recognized first ever boys basketball state champion in which year? I think you knew the team, right?
Did I? I don't even remember now.
You did. You texted it.
Yeah,
I did text it.
You cheated.
I didn't cheat.
Or did you cheat? Are you admitting that you cheated on him?
No, I didn't cheat. No, I did not cheat. Yeah, Fond du Lac. Yeah, and I guess like sometime it was in like the early 1920s, but I'm guessing I was probably too late for that. It was probably earlier than that, but I don't even know what the answer was. 1916. Wow.
Fond du Lac in 1916. I won't spoil it because this might come back again, but if you look at the scores of those first 10 to 15 state championships in state tournaments.
Just spoil it. We're not going to get a question about those.
All right. So
anytime soon.
In the state tournament in that very first year, there were multiple teams that scored under 10.
I believe it.
The average score was like 15 to 11 or something like that.
Wow.
So how times have changed.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing in the last couple of years, I've been doing some digging on some just historical stats and stuff and trying to find records in Hartford's history. And I'm looking back all the way to the early 1920s at some scores. And I'm like, whoa, if only there were film to be able to watch some of that. Like, I think it would be mind blowing.
Well, on the other end of the spectrum, so back in those early days, there was a jump ball after every basket. So you could, in theory, you could retain possession forever. So that's why in the WBCA,
make it take it.
Yeah, in the WBCA scoring book, Aaron Ritchie from, I think, Superior, I'll have to double check. He had like 80 some points in a game in 1917 because he must have been tall, obviously.
Yeah.
And he would just win every jump ball. They would get the ball, and then he would go score. So there's in the scoring history of the WBCA, that's technically not included because it's not really a modern record because, again, the rules were different. I'm sorry, he was from Mellon, scored 88 points in a game in 1917. Wow. Again, they did a jump ball after every basket. So
there were teams who didn't score 88 points in a season in that year.
No. You know what? Back then, it had to be a 10-second shot clock. That's what it was, and we just don't know about it.
Yeah.
I won't spoil it either. There's another question I was going to ask at some point about. Actually, it is this week. Actually, most points in a state tournament game, and people might be surprised how far back you go for that one. But the other question from last week was how many different girls basketball coaches have won a state tournament state title at Cuba City. That answer is 3. Sid Sincock won 2 for Cuba City, and I think the first 2 years that they had it, 76 and 77. He went on to coach the boys varsity at Richland Center, actually, when I was a kid. Wish we could have kept him around. Jeff Pustina won, what did he win? 7, 9, 10, whatever it was. And then last year, Jason Derby joined the list as well, leading Cuba City to a state title. So 3 different coaches across 5 decades or whatever have won state titles at Cuba City in the girls program. Pretty amazing. That brings us to this week. What is the boys basketball state tournament record for most team points in a game? And I don't know if this is really a hint, but there's only been one state tournament game over 100 points, and it's this one. So don't say it here. I'll ask you offline if you guys know after we get done. But that's the trivia question for this week.
There's only been one state tournament game where a team scored over 100.
Yep.
I wouldn't have gotten that trivia question right.
I should have phrased it that way.
Huh.
All right. The girls question for this week: how many different girls basketball programs have won at least one girls basketball state championship for the WIAA only, not including WISA, but just WIAA? This number, I mean, obviously it's a big number, but I think people could be off quite a bit on what this one would be.
Yeah, I don't even have a guess. I don't even know where to begin with that.
Yeah, neither do I. Those are Trav's trivia. We might find a better. Trav's trivia's got a good ring to it, but we'll find a better segment name for it.
You just don't like your brother's name, or what?
I mean, Trav will be in it because we aren't going to get the questions going.
I mean, it's alliteration. Trav's trivia makes total sense. So
it does.
Fellas, let's hear about your weeks. Coach Smith, we already touched on it. You already accosted me. Why don't you go ahead and talk about what you got coming on?
No, we have a rare week where, we have just a game on Friday and against a really good Whitefish Bay team that is a very unique scout type game, just because of the things that they do, and where they play some hard nosed man to man defense, but also do have a little bit of a matchup 2-3, 2-1-2 type zone in the half court that they kind of stretch out sometimes beyond half court. So it's going to be a true test, and again, a very, very good team who's played some very good teams already this year, and I look forward to it. We're up for the challenge, and we're excited about it. Our next few weeks have a lot of very good teams coming up here, so we're going to see what we're made of, and that's an okay thing.
Trav, what about you? How's your first week of 2026 going to look?
Got a couple games here in Reedsburg. We play on Tuesday and Friday this week. I think we maybe teased it a little bit, but we're working on a couple events for Bound for next year that we're really excited about and hope to be able to share some more information very, very soon. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be a good part of what I'm doing this week, is working on getting the finishing touches put on that so we can do some announcing here soon. I think people are going to be really excited about what those are going to look like. And we're also getting prepped for some events coming up here later this month. in just a couple of weeks, we're working once again with the Midwest Players Classic. Coach Reinhardt from Aquinas. We're going to do a little bit more even this year. We've partnered with them on some media coverage for a long time, and this year we're going to be an official partner, going to be sponsoring the Player of the Game. So looking forward to that. Have some more information out soon. And then at the end of the month, the Deer District Prep Showcase is coming up. 5 great games at Fiserv Forum, and we'll have some more information on that coming up as well. Tickets are on sale if you're interested, but 5 great games that we're looking forward to coming up later this month. So a lot of planning for events next year and this year.
Yeah, as for myself, we get to go from playing yesterday to no practice today to we got a non-con game with Wisconsin Heights tomorrow. Obviously, the prep is unideal, but it's a non-con game that we get to get in. And then Thursday we get to head to Lancaster, who is undefeated. They look all the team that I kind of figured they would be. They haven't won conference since I want to say early 90s, mid 90s. So they're a team that's not even then, Trav, you don't think?
Certainly not the mid 90s. I mean, that was when I was in school, later 90s. But I mean, Cuba City dominated. Platteville won conference. Yeah. Richland Center won conference in 96. I think Cuba won it in 95 with Ben Keepers. Maybe that was Platteville with Ben Shambo. But I don't remember Lancaster winning conference at any point while I was kind of in that era.
So that might even be longer. But yeah, they're primed to, be a really good team in our conference. It's going to be a really big test for us. Going there is always a really big test for us. We always play pretty competitive games, pretty emotionally filled games. So hopefully we can just stay even keeled. And then as for me, I'm gonna spend Saturday. We're going down to Ames. We're not heading to Bound headquarters, but me and my wife got tickets from her brother. We're gonna head and watch Iowa State play on Saturday afternoon. Ideally, the Packers then play on Sunday.
How many Wisconsin guys does Iowa State have now?
They have Momsilovich, they have Mitchell, they have Bateman, they have the kid from Brooks Central. What's his name? He walked on. What is his name?
And they got more recruits coming.
Yeah, Yusef's going there.
Anthony Rise,
not Asher. Yeah, so they have 4 with Yusef committed there for next year. Obviously, the coach is from Catholic Central, so a lot of Wisconsin ties.
J.R. Blunt is on staff. Deontay Garrett's on staff.
Yeah, a lot of Wisconsin ties. Looking forward to it. I got to watch them a little. Or I had time to watch them a little bit over the weekend, so it was a lot of fun to watch that group play, and getting to go down there and watch it in person is going to be a lot of fun. As for that, we're at the end. 2026 is here. It was a really fun 2025 getting to start this journey. We're just growing. We're getting better. We're riffing off each other a little bit better. Our flow's getting better, so to speak. As always, we're presented by Bound, boundwisconsin.com. Head there. You can find content. This week, we're going to have weekly polls up. We'll have previews. We'll have state. Trav, how do you word that in the girls' side?
Prep props.
Prep props. On the girls' side, we'll have your scores, your streams, your schedules, your stats, your rankings, your power index, everything on the boys and girls' side at boundwisconsin.com. Yeah, it's January's here. Late March will be here before we blink. Looking forward to next week. We'll have Coach Brad Reinhardt, Aquinas' boys head coach. He's going to be our guest, and he is he the director of the Midwest Players Classic? Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about that event, talk a little bit about his season. That'll be a good interview. So thanks as always, and sign us off.
To the baseline we go.
My gosh, we're going to get better at this.
That was good.